What's up guys, Starlink here, and today on this episode of the Indie Watch, we're going to take a look at a pixelated action RPG that happens to share a lot in common with a title that I'm sure many of you are aware of by now, Dark Souls. But anyways, without further ado, let's take a look at the game titled There Is No Light. The story is as follows. In the world of There Is No Light, everyone lost their free will. The Church of the Great Hand always knows better, what society wants and needs. The world was turned into ashes once because of people's actions. They don't deserve a second chance. The entire human civilization was forced to live deep underground by the Church of the Great Hand, struggling to survive. A group of leaders known as the Eight were able to unite society and form the last bastion of humankind, Central Station, considered the capital of the underworld by its inhabitants. After construction was over, the Eight organized people, gave them jobs so they were able to provide for themselves with food and supplies. It's not a surprise that building a new society is a hard task. Some people couldn't adapt to the newly established rules. Many conflicts escalated and led to the Great Resettlement in the different areas of the subway's ruins. On one day, however, everything changed. The gates of Central Station that had once been closed suddenly opened and never-before-seen creatures began to show. The Church of the Great Hand appeared and took control of the city and its inhabitants, causing the Eight to lose all power and influence, forcing them to leave. Ever since then, Central Station opens its gates once a year, on the Day of Ascension. Every few years, a mystical sacrificial ritual of newborn children takes place in the majestic Temple of the Hand. The head of the church, who is simply known as the Father, personally selects newborns and sacrifices them to the Hand, which takes children out of the gates and into the unknown. One of the infants happens to be the child of our protagonist. He is trying to interrupt the Ascension ritual, at no matter the cost. This launches an inevitable series of events that will change our hero and this world forever. This is a very dark tale that isn't afraid to explore the more grim side of things. Humanity's actions have brought the world to ruins, and the Church of the Great Hand stepped in to decide humanity's fate, forcing them to live deep underground, defending themselves from creatures, and the Father of the Church sacrificing infants via a mystical ritual for some unknown purposes. That's pretty unsettling stuff if you ask me. There Is No Light is a dark fantasy action RPG inspired by the likes of games such as Dark Souls and Shin Megami Tensei. Luckily, there happened to be a limited time demo available that I was able to play through to completion, so I was able to get a good feeling for how the game actually plays. This being a demo, however, means that many things could possibly change before the game's official release, so just keep that in mind. Right off the bat, the game's Soulsborne influence is clearly evident through its gameplay. Enemies can be very brutal and can wipe the floor with you if you don't constantly dodge and look for openings to attack. You will die quite often until you get the hang of enemy movement patterns. There are some healing items that you'll stumble across and can use, but they're very few and far between. The combat is very fast-paced with a mixture of both dodging and attacking, and there are 4 weapons that you can swap between on the fly. There's the Omen, a well-balanced light sword, the Superbia, a fist weapon with a fast-paced combat, the Medacium, a heavy sword that's slow but hits hard and is good for crowd control, and the Avartia, a living shield that absorbs damage received and launches it back at the enemy. Within the demo, I had immediate access to the light sword, fisticuffs, and heavy sword to swap between, but the shield wasn't available. In the main game, you'll unlock each of these weapons naturally as you progress through the story. Each weapon can be upgraded, giving you new abilities via Death Essence, which you can acquire in a given area or is obtained through defeating enemies. There's also a rage meter that builds up over time and allows you to perform the equipped weapon's special skill. Combat is fine for the most part. The problem I had is with the weapon's durability system. The only weapon that never breaks is the light sword. Every other weapon will break after being used enough times. Now this isn't a huge deal as each weapon recharges itself over time and can be used again, but the problem is that I never felt the other weapons had any significant advantage over the light sword, and with it being unbreakable, meant I pretty much stuck with it the whole entire time. Now I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel that the game might be better off if the durability system was ditched altogether. I get that it's supposed to encourage you to utilize other weapons at your disposal, but having the light sword be unbreakable almost makes it feel pointless. There will be more reasons for you to use the other weapons within the game's official release, maybe, but as it stands now, I didn't use them much. The game also has a karma system at play here that affects the outcome of the overall story. It's basically just a positive or a negative response when talking to certain NPCs. Now in the demo, I wasn't able to see the outcome of any of the few choices that I made since it doesn't play out far enough, but this could be an interesting story element that could affect the ending. One of the game's key features is non-linear world exploration, so you can go wherever you want, when you want. Each area you visit will have plenty of side quests to complete, and you have a fast travel system to visit any area that you've previously been to if you missed anything. Now in the demo, it didn't have any side quests to complete or in-game map to follow, and while there were many paths I could take, they all eventually led to the same destination in the end anyway. But again, this is just a demo here, so many of these features may not have been implemented yet for a reason. It basically just gives you a taste of the gameplay and how combat works. The art style has that dark and gloomy atmosphere about it that works and fits what the game is shooting for. Humanity is left in shambles, struggling to survive by any means necessary, and you can clearly see this with the buildings surrounding you in ruins and people living off the street. Creatures you come across are well detailed and terrifying to look at, bringing on that gothic horror vibe. The demo ends with a boss fight with what's called the Behemoth, a giant wall of flesh that looks like something that spawned from your nightmares. This game isn't afraid to show plenty of blood and gore mixed with some disturbing imagery, which it shares in common with other games like Blasphemous. The game throws a lot of dark humor into the mix as well. You have this companion who follows you around who is a lot like Death himself, as he owns your soul and treats you as his servant. He constantly pokes fun at you and those around you, which helps lighten the mood a bit. Now from what I played of the demo, the music didn't have anything that really stood out to me much, but what's there fits the overall theme of the game. Sound effects are eerie and disturbing enough to make your skin crawl at times, which helps bring out the game's overall atmosphere even more. In the end though, I enjoyed what I was able to play of the demo despite some minor gripes, which took me about 2 hours to complete. There Is No Light is developed by Zellart and published by Hype Train Digital. It's releasing on all platforms including future consoles and has an estimated release window of August 2021. If you're a big fan of games like Dark Souls with its brutal difficulty, or of the doom and gloom atmosphere found in the Shin Megami Tensei games, There Is No Light may be up your alley. For everyone else, it may be best to steer clear of this one. So after spending a good chunk of time on the demo with this game, I can see that it has potential, and I only hope that the few problems I did have with it can be ironed out when the game officially releases, but that's all up in the air at this point. I will say though, however, that shortly after I backed this project on Kickstarter, the devs actually sent out a survey asking questions like, how did you like the game? What did you didn't like about it? Now I know I made sure I filled that survey out and sent it their way. Now will anything come from it? Probably not, but I do like the extra effort that the devs actually put into putting out a survey for people that back the project, because that shows that they're willing to take constructive criticism, which is always a plus in my book. But regardless, if this is a title that you guys may be interested in, I'll make sure I'll leave a link in the description so you can check out its page if you want. But anyways guys, that's all I've got for you today. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like, or dislike if you didn't. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Reach for the stars.